Right then, guys, back with another video. Again, it's not going to be a PvP video. I did have one recorded over the weekend while Arena was open. It was like a 50-minute video. I played 3 games on this Cleric, 3 games on my Bonk Cleric. 4 of the games were actually really good. Uploaded it, realized there was no game sound. I don't know what keeps causing this to happen, as it's fine when I stream. It just seems to be every now and again, because sometimes I switch between having my headset on and having my speakers on. I don't know what happens in OBS, but it kind of like changes back to a default where it just doesn't work. I don't know. So yeah, I uploaded it and then deleted it an hour later, as it just felt too weird watching it back. You could still hear my voice, but with no game sounds, it was just a bit weird. I wasn't happy with it, so I just ended up deleting it. Okay, so for this video, I'm going to be doing some theory crafting on the new spells, perks, and abilities that I think Cleric could potentially have. So next wipe should be Wizard and Cleric. Now I think this is going to be the first wipe which will actually be a bit of a test for Iron Mace, because in the previous wipes where we've had, to begin with, it was Fighter Barbarian. This wipe that we're currently on Season 9, it was Rogue and Ranger. Them classes are virtually... There's different playstyles, don't get me wrong. Like, you can play Invis Rogue, or you can play, like, not Invis Rogue, and, you know, now play, like, Shadow Step, etc. Like, Shadow Step Rupture, Shadow Step Dual Strike, whatnot. Or Hide Cutthroat, Hide Rupture, etc. But they're all just solely DPS classes, right? There's no other way out to play them. You play Barbarian, you play Fighter, you play Rogue, Ranger, you're always going to be at ranged. Whereas with Wizard and Cleric... Wizard, you can play 10-spell Wizard, you can play 5-spell Wizard, you can play Bonk Wizard. Cleric, you can play Bonk Cleric, you can play a Demon Cleric, you can play like a full healing type of Cleric. There's different ways to play it with completely different playstyles, perks, and abilities. So, like I said, in this video, I'm going to be going over some things which I think could fit well for all variants of Cleric, whatever playstyle you're going to play. Obviously, I play them both, so I'm going to be trying to come up with... different ways how to make perks, spells, and abilities work. And I also kind of want it to be where, you know, like, I can't remember how long ago it was, maybe like a year and a half, even maybe 2 years ago, when they actually introduced more perks across the board for all classes, and a lot of them have been reworked as we know them now. But even then, there's still a meta. You don't really tend to find some of the perks being used for, again, this is across all classes. So I think either, like, some of them need to be reworked as well. I don't know how to do that, but yeah, I just feel like when they had, like, I think it was Holy Water, when they first added that, nobody used it. It was just trash, and now they've reworked that to basically work like Bless when you drink it, right? Kind of like an example. But, yeah, I'm going to get into it, and we'll go over the first spell, which I think will be actually very good for Cleric. And I'm actually surprised it's not already been in, or added. Okay, so, I have hopped onto my Warlock. Now, you might be thinking, why are we on Warlock if we're theory crafting a Cleric? For one reason, and for one reason only. Warlocks are deemed, I think, pretty much across, like, all games, right? They're kind of like the dark arts, the dark magic, curses, you know, evil. Whereas clerics are like the light, the holiness, the goodness, you know, good versus evil, the yin and yang. So what's a spell that warlocks have, which we could transition over to the cleric? And I think one really does stand out, and it's Ray of Darkness. So Ray of Darkness, you cast it. Everyone knows how to use this. Meme beam, as people like to call it. So as that beam's going out, imagine if this was yellow instead. It can look exactly the same. It's yellow. It's holy light. Okay, we could maybe change it to where it does less damage. So this does 12 dark magical damage. You could even... I'm not going to try throw out numbers for balance changes, but let's even say half of that. Like 6 holy damage per tick. But this is the key difference with what I'm calling a holy beam. Is that, obviously, if you do it at an enemy, it will do holy damage on them. But if your teammate was there and you targeted at him instead, it would heal him per tick. And then that would obviously scale with, like, magical healing, etc. Just how, like, everything scales with magical power bonus or magical healing, etc, etc. So I think this would be a very cool spell for clerics to have that can be both offensive and help teammates by healing them as well. Because I think one of the main things a spellcaster cleric lacks is they don't have any spells that you target at an actual enemy other than bind, but bind doesn't do any damage. You think of Holy Strike, Earthquake, Locust Swarm, they are all aimed at the floor, whereas this Holy Beam spell could be pointed at an enemy as you're either chasing them because you can move around with Ray of Darkness, you could be moving around, you could be dealing damage and then switch to your guy here and start healing him. So yeah, that is my first thought of a new spell for Cleric. Now, my second spell that I thought of not so long ago with Cleric is taken from kind of like a wizard. But so with Light Orb, for example, that goes down there, obviously gets people out of hide, or, you know, very good against rogues. Now, imagine Clerics had a spell that kind of looks like Light Orb, but it's a bit of a bigger ball. But say, for example, I've got a teammate over there. I can... Try that again. I would send whatever you want to call it, a Holy Orb, whatever, over there, and then that pulsates and heals around that area. You could obviously change how big the radius would be, but if I've got teammates over there, that's going to be pulsating for, again, I'm not going to try to throw out balance sort of numbers. How long it lasts for, I don't know. It's just the initial idea that you can heal people from range and that would pulse out. You could even do it where, you could even set it up where it only starts pulsing out once it's finished moving, not as soon as it, like, leaves, like there. It won't be pulsating now, wouldn't be pulsating. Now it would. As soon as it stops moving, it then starts pulsating out. I mean, you could even, maybe even do that area that you can see there, that radius. Maybe that's a bit too much, I don't know. But yeah, that's another spell that I thought of, for Cleric. Again, not so much for offensive, purely just for healing, as opposed to the Holy Beam that can be used as both. But I think that's another cool spell that Clerics could potentially have. So now I'm gonna go over some perks and abilities that Bonk Cleric could have. So if we go into the fighter and we look at one of the thing that makes fighter very, very strong is the fact that they can virtually be wearing full plate armor. They can run Adrenaline Rush to make them faster. They can run Sprint to make them faster. And they can even use Breakthrough to be faster, as well as taking no movement speed loss, like from a Ice Bolt or whatever, right? Pair any of them three abilities with Swift, which gives movement speed as well. You can be fast whilst wearing, like, virtually full plate. You can be max PDR as well as being fast. So this is where I've always, like, I'm a water map main now. The way that I build my Cleric kits, as you can see here. 1 second. As I build my Cleric kits here, there's 0 plate other than the light gauntlets, which don't have any move speed penalty anyway. The Chappelle is mail, plate, whatever you want to call it, but you're gaining agility, you're gaining move speed there. So everything that I wear is trying to give me as much move speed as possible. I'm currently at 299, so I'd be at like 301, 302 with the Lantern out, depending on what rarity of Lantern you get. And that's basically with everything all gemmed with dex, strength, and action speed. Nothing's been gemmed with agility. The only thing that's got agility on are the light gauntlets and the Chappelle. Whereas if you was to swap this and you was to wear like a, let's have a look. Say you was wearing, say you wanted to wear a Crusader helm. You've got a -7 move speed penalty there as opposed to a -3, but you're gaining 4 agility from that, so you're only really -1. So that would make you slower. Then let's say, okay, you can keep the light gauntlets on if you wanted to, or even the heavy gauntlets if you want to go dexterity, so you lose an extra 1 move speed there. Champion armor, that's -10, as opposed to and Adventure Tunic -7, -3, so that's a -7 difference. And then Plate Pants, -8, Cloth Pants, -3, that's a 5 difference. And then Boots, if you really want to go full plate, that's move speed 4, whereas the heavy boots are 6, so it's 2 different. So overall, you're looking at maybe like, what, -20 move speed? And when I used to play, before the water map was out, I solely used to play like Goblin Caves. It was always my go-to map, but I've played very early on when Goblin Caves was the only solo map that you could play. You had to be like duos to go Ice Caverns, and trios was Castle. So you was forced to play Goblin Caves only. I know they did do the map rotation sort of thing for a short period of time, but Goblin Caves was kind of like my bread and butter per se. And I always used to find that I used to get kited by everyone. And if you even got close to them, they would always just outrun you. If you had a ranger shooting at you, even if you tried to run away, he would just catch you up and then hit you from a little bit of ranged again. If you tried going for him, you would get kited. Like, I suppose there is somewhat of a skill diff there, but you're just so slow. You really are just so slow. So going back to the fighter, I think a way that they could introduce, I'm not going to say an ability such as Adrenaline Rush or Sprint, but one of the most OP things is Swift. So this reduces the armor move speed penalty by 20%. I feel like they could integrate this into Clerics by having it say something like each piece of plate gear you wear, you gain X amount of move speed. So like, if you was to wear like a champion armor, you might gain I don't know, say like 0.3 a piece. I mean, like, if we look at Copperlight gear has, where is it? Here. So 0.5 on everything. Maybe you could go up to 0.5 per plate piece you put on. So that's like just under 2 move speed per piece. I don't know. Again, I don't know if that would be too OP. Maybe it could, maybe 0.3, so 1 move speed per piece. Maybe could work. Because then I think you would find more clerics wearing plate gear, and it would at least give them a bit more of a fighting chance to be able to, like, chase after people. Which kind of brings me on to the other thing of, because clerics have no range, and I'm so surprised, like, this hasn't been looked at previously. People say that cleric, like, anything can be OP. In this game, everything is situational, right? I'm surprised clerics don't have anything ranged, other than what's been introduced recently with the sling. And let's be honest, the sling isn't the best thing in the world. Whereas you look at a wizard, or you could be playing a wizard, whether it's 5 spell, 10 spell, whatever, with spell overload, so you've got a million spells that you can be throwing out at people, and wizards can also use crossbows. Why not let clerics use crossbows as well? I really don't understand that. I don't understand the logic. Like, if wizards couldn't use crossbows, fair enough, because they've got a million spells that they can use in their artillery anyway. I don't understand why clerics can't use a crossbow, or even a hand crossbow, at the very, very, very least. But wizards could send a million fireballs, explosions, frostbolts, magic missiles, zaps, etc, 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 then still switch to a crossbow and hit you as well. And that works even better when you're playing with like a bonk style wizard that's still running spells, but they're also running the strength, etc, to be able to hit you hard. So their crossbow is going to be doing a lot of damage as well, because they've got the strength to back it up. Okay, now we're going to get into the fun parts of Bonk Cleric. I feel like they need to introduce things for Cleric. Well, they need to introduce things for every single class that are going to be continuously used. Not things where, to begin with, they're either super overpowered, to tune them down a little bit, and then you don't really see many people use them anymore. For example, take the fighter flag that they put down. It used to give +5... What is it? I think it was +5 all attributes. Then that's now been nerfed down to +3, and you don't really see that many fighters using it. I have came across a couple of fighters in Arena that use it, but most of the fighters have gone back to Sprint Second Wind, Adrenaline Rush Second Wind, Breakthrough Second Wind, you know, back to the things that we had originally. Nobody's using Disarm anymore because it sucks now that you have to parry somebody first before it procs. Whereas before, you just used to be able to hit somebody and then it would disarm them. They have made the Barbarian hook ability a bit better, so you do see a lot of Barbarians using the grappling hook now. I think they need to continue with that and make things that are going to be used in metas as opposed to just, oh, this is cool, but that's better. I'm just going to go back to what I know. And again, that's not just for Cleric, that's among every single class. Now, the first thing that I think would be a very cool integration, and this is from another game that I play. I know we've been teased with, we're going to be getting more classes, Monk, for example, even though we don't know when that's going to be out. And if we look at, I think I was told, I'm not a Dungeons and Dragons player, but I'm sure I was told at some point that Dark and Darker basically follows that ideology of Dark and Darker classes. Whatever you would see in, Dungeons and Dragons classes, whatever you would see there will be at some point in Dark and Darker. And one of them classes is Paladin. Now, I'm a World of Warcraft player. It's what I've played since 2005. Cleric already, in my eyes, kind of feels like a Paladin. You know, you've got the melee damage, you've got the holy healing spells, holy damaging spells. That's pretty much what Paladin in World of Warcraft is. So I would actually be intrigued to know if they actually brought out Paladin in Dark and Darker, what the difference between Cleric and Paladin would actually be. Because in my eyes, they're kind of the same. So one of the Paladin spells in World of Warcraft is Divine Shield. Now, if... Go away. Can we make that go away? Hello? There we go. Divine Shield in World of Warcraft, people do hate it, especially when you PvP in, because it is a little bit overpowered. So, Divine Shield grants immunity to all damage, harmful effects, knockbacks, and forced movement effects for 8 seconds. Okay, it does have a 5-minute cooldown, but they could integrate this for Cleric, so it would take up one of your abilities, so you could run Smite, Divine Shield, like we'll just call it Divine Shield, because that's what it's called in WoW. Or you could run like Divine Protection, Divine Shield, but then you're losing Smite, so it would have to be an ability that you use. But they could just change this. They could change it where it only lasts for 3 seconds. A physical bubble goes around you, you're not taking any damage for 3 seconds, but you can't attack whilst this is up. So it gives you a bubble for 3 seconds, so you're not taking any form of damage, but you cannot attack. You wouldn't be able to pop this, run in and start attacking people while Divine Shield's up. That wouldn't work. So it's very much a defensive ability. Much like the only thing that I think you could compare it to would be Phantomize. Whereas the only thing that makes Phantomize super OP is the fact that you can not go invisible, but you can like travel through mobs, right? So if you're chasing after a Warlock, he Phantomizes, he runs through 3 mobs to a door, closes it behind you, you've then got all the mobs on you. Whereas this would you're still a physical object. The only thing you've got is 3, 4, 5 seconds, whatever the balance would be, that you're not taking any damage. So if somebody, you know, again, because everything's situational, if you was on top of a Cleric and you knew he was low, and he popped Divine Shield, yes, he can't attack you, and if he's running away, much like you can sometimes with Phantomize, you just stay on them, running after them, and as soon as they come out of Phantomize, you finish them off. So I feel like the same thing would happen with this, with Divine Shield. If a Cleric's low, he's running away, just wait for the bubble to wear off after 3 or 4 seconds, and then finish him off. But I do think it would be a very cool ability that would fit the Cleric playstyle, especially Bonk Cleric. Now the other one, I feel like this probably would be used more. Yeah, you could either have this as a spell or an ability. Consecration. So consecration basically, as it says there, consecrates the land beneath you, causing X amount of damage, and it stays there. So I feel like this could either be like a spell that clerics could use, say about the same sort of radius as like Earthquake, but when you use that spell or you use that ability, you're kind of in the center of the circle. So you hit it and then it kind of like bursts out around you in a radius, and then it would stay there for X amount of seconds, causing X amount of damage. That could either be a spell, or it could be an ability used as well. And I feel like this would also be a very good ability because it stays there. It would also actually be pretty good against rogues as well. If you know a rogue's like kind of near you, creeping up on you in hide, you could pop Consecration as an ability or a spell. And then you've got that sort of safety zone around you, whatever that radius may be, that if he walks into Consecration, he's going to get ticked from that. He's going to take some damage and make him come out of hide. So I feel like this is another spell from World of Warcraft that could potentially be brought over to Dark and Darker. Just very briefly going back onto when I was talking about the fighters with the move speed, it was this that actually made me think of clerics actually getting it. So in WoW, paladins get Pursuit of Justice, which you gain 15% movement speed at all times. I know obviously the numbers are different because it's WoW, not Dark and Darker, but that's what actually made me think of clerics having a move speed bonus. And, you know, this one's called Pursuit of Justice, so it's like you're chasing after the culprit. You're pursuing justice, right? I think that's pretty much all that I can come up with so far. You could maybe drop a comment down in the down below if you have any ideas for any new cleric perks, abilities, or spells. Now, there is a couple more that I can kind of like bring up from WoW, like the Shield of Righteous, which kind of feels like, depending on what they did, because if you are using a heater shield or even like a buckler as a cleric, you could do something with your shield, a bit like how fighters have shield slam. But I don't want a copy where you basically just copy pasting shield slam from fighter to cleric. I think it does need to have some form of a twist. So maybe somebody down in the comments could say maybe like what Shield of Righteous would do. But yeah, I just hope that whatever they bring out, we just don't go back to the same meta that if you're playing Bonk Cleric, you're virtually just going to be running DP, Smite, or you're playing Judgment spells. I think there really needs to be a mix-up. Like, as I was saying earlier, Holy Water, I can't remember what it was initially. I think it was maybe even just removes the curses and harmful magic effects. Then they changed it to where it now grants Bless, so you get like +2 all. Holy Aura is trash. If you are running this because you think you're gaining a lot, you're really not. The armor rating and magic resistance that you're getting is like so minimal. It's genuinely not even worth. Kindness isn't too bad. Undead Slaying, I mean, unless you're going into PvE mode and you're killing bosses or whatever, nobody runs that. Requiem only really works if you're running spells and you're running res and you actually manage to get that off, which whenever I run res, there's not that many times you actually manage to get a resurrection off. Protection from Evil was better back in the day and it got nerfed. It is still good. If I play my other cleric, I still do run it. I don't on this. I mean, I used to run it before Brewmaster, but I think Brewmaster is just so strong. I really think Brewmaster is one of the most underrated. Well, but it's probably not even underrated. It's probably one of the best, other than Faithfulness. Faithfulness is the best perk, and then I would say Brewmaster second if you're playing Bonk Cleric, because you're pretty much gaining an extra like 15 strength. So when you're building your kit, even when I'm at 19 strength here, which isn't an awful lot, I drink an ale, I'm going up to 34 strength. So it just makes it like so much better. And it lasts for 22.5 seconds as well. It's not like it only lasts for 5 seconds or something. You're gaining like a fair amount of time with that buff up. And then again, Holy Purification, it's a bit like Undead Slaying. You're only really running this if you're in like PvE mode or whatever, and you're trying to like level up quickly. Because nobody in any form of PvP sense is running this or Undead Slaying. But yeah, drop a like, drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, please. I know the last video that you guys saw, I did ask for people to sub. And you did. So I do thank you very much for that. I went from like 35, 36 subs, I think, all the way up to like 70. So let's see if from this video, fellow clerics help me out. See if we can get to 100 subscribers. And I will see you in the next one. Hopefully, I'll be able to get an arena video out this weekend that actually has the gameplay sounds, and I can get something uploaded for you guys. Peace.